Your shoulders aren't growing because of these 8 reasons. Big and well-defined shoulders are crucial to highlight an impressive physique. They not only give a more athletic and powerful appearance, but also help create that V shape that draws so much attention. However, many end up frustrated to see that, even with dedication, their shoulders do not seem to grow as expected. The truth is that there are common mistakes that completely limit the development of this muscle group. So today, we will explore the 8 most frequent reasons that prevent your shoulders from growing and how you can avoid them to finally achieve the results you desire. Stay tuned until the end, because number 5 is the one that hinders you the most. Reason number 1, you don't train with full range of motion. When we talk about shoulder growth, one of the biggest mistakes many bodybuilders make is not training with a full range of motion, especially in overhead press exercises. This mistake is crucial because it severely limits the effective work of the deltoids. By performing a partial movement, such as not lowering the weight completely, you fail to stimulate all the muscle fibers of the deltoids, which compromises the results in terms of hypertrophy and strength. Many people mistakenly believe that only the load is important for muscle growth, and therefore end up lifting weights that they cannot handle properly throughout the full range of motion. This is a big misconception, as instead of focusing on the quality of the exercise and the appropriate muscle tension, they end up training their ego and not the muscles effectively. The reality is that reducing the load and performing the movement with a full range of motion will not only ensure a better stimulus for muscle growth, but will also significantly reduce the risk of injuries. A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research followed 2 groups of individuals over a 10-week training period, where one group practiced lifts with full range of motion and the other with partial range. The results were clear. The group that trained with full range had an increase in muscle strength by 25%, and in muscle mass by 10% more than the group that performed partial movements. Reason number 2, you leave shoulder exercises for the end of the workout. A common misconception is to leave shoulder exercises for the end of the session, especially in routines that combine muscle groups like chest, shoulders, and triceps. This approach can significantly impair the effectiveness of the shoulder workout because if they are exercised after other larger and more demanding muscle groups, the accumulated fatigue will compromise their ability to be properly stimulated. Many people, whether due to personal preferences, the structure of their routines, or even time constraints, choose to train shoulders along with chest or arms. In many cases, shoulder training ends up being relegated to the end of the session. This often happens because many value the development of other muscles more, or simply because they have a greater preference for exercising other parts of the body. However, what should be considered is that the performance in exercises performed at the end of the workout tends to be lower than those executed at the beginning when energy and strength are at their highest levels. There is a consensus in the world of bodybuilding that weak points should be prioritized in training sessions. If the goal is to develop the shoulders, they should not be left for the end when you are already more tired. Training shoulders at the beginning of the workout, when you still have more gas and strength, will not only increase the intensity of the muscle stimulus, but also allow a more precise and powerful execution of each movement. Therefore, for those who really want to see progress in the development of the shoulders, considering restructuring the order of exercises in the routine can make a big difference. Reason number 3, allowing the trapezius to do most of the work in shoulder exercises. Another common issue in shoulder training is allowing the trapezius muscles to dominate exercises intended for the deltoids, as is common in lateral raises. When you start to cheat, and the trapezius excessively comes into play during these exercises, they can limit the effective work of the deltoids, which, in turn, prevents the ideal development of the shoulders. To prevent the trapezius from stealing the work from the deltoids, it is crucial to pay attention to technique during the exercises. In lateral raises, for example, one of the main mistakes that lead to the dominance of the trapezius is lifting the weights too high or using a load that is too heavy, causing the posture to change and the trapezius to be activated to help in the lift. To keep the focus on the deltoids and minimize the involvement of the trapezius, use a weight that you can handle properly without the need to swing the body or use momentum. The control of the movement should be smooth and stable. Avoid lifting your arms above shoulder height. The idea is to keep the tension in the lateral deltoids, and lifting too high transfers part of that tension to the trapezius. At the same time, consciously keep your shoulders pressed down during the exercise. This helps to better isolate the deltoids, reducing the activation of the trapezius. Also, maintain an upright posture with a slight bend in the knees to stabilize the spine and avoid body swinging, which can facilitate the activation of the trapezius. And of course, don't forget to execute the movement in a controlled manner, both on the way up and down, keeping the tension constant in the deltoids. By following these tips, you can effectively minimize the involvement of the trapezius and maximize the work on the deltoids, which is essential for balanced and aesthetic development of the shoulders. Reason number 4. Not applying the principle of progressive overload. While it is common to see bodybuilders focusing on increasing the weight in exercises like the bench press, many overlook this progression in shoulder exercises, such as the overhead press and lateral raises. There is a persistent myth that for shoulders, it would be better to perform more repetitions with less weight. However, the principle of progressive overload, which involves increasing the load over time, remains fundamental for these muscles as well. Gradually increasing the resistance you use in shoulder exercises is crucial to stimulate the muscles to adapt and grow. If you limit yourself to always using the same weight and only increase the number of repetitions, you might be missing out on significant muscle growth benefits. Moreover, it is important to clarify that the burning sensation many feel when doing many repetitions in shoulder exercises is not directly related to hypertrophy or the increase in muscle size. This sensation is usually associated with the accumulation of lactic acid, a temporary response that does not necessarily indicate that the muscle is growing. To truly promote hypertrophy, it is necessary to impose on the muscles a load that challenges their current capacity, encouraging adaptations that result in bigger and stronger muscles. A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research compared 2 groups of individuals training shoulders over a 12-week period. One group focused on increasing the load over time, while the other maintained the same weight and increased the number of repetitions. The results were clear. The group that applied progressive overload showed an increase of 35% in strength and 20% in muscle growth, measured through imaging techniques. In contrast, the group that performed more repetitions with less weight had only a 5% increase in strength and virtually no significant gain in muscle size. These results demonstrate that for the development of shoulders, as well as other muscle groups, progressively increasing the load is more effective than simply increasing the number of repetitions. Reason number 5. Not paying attention to the lateral and posterior deltoids. A common mistake in bodybuilding, especially in shoulder training, is to focus excessively on the anterior deltoids and neglect the lateral and posterior deltoids. This imbalance occurs because many popular exercises like the bench press already significantly activate the anterior deltoids. However, the lateral and especially the posterior deltoids often remain underestimated in terms of development. The anterior deltoids are visible and many tend to focus on them for aesthetic reasons, seeking volume in the front part of the shoulders. However, the lateral and posterior deltoids are crucial not only for aesthetics, offering a wider and more balanced appearance of the shoulders, but also for functionality and shoulder health. Without proper development of these parts, you can end up with disproportionate musculature, which not only looks unattractive, but also increases the risk of injuries. Many people tend to almost ignore the training of the posterior deltoid and do not work the lateral with the necessary intensity and frequency. The lateral deltoid, when well developed, helps create that broad shoulders look that is highly desired, contributing to a more V-shaped silhouette. The posterior deltoid not only completes the appearance of the shoulders, but also plays a vital role in the stabilization and mobility of the shoulder. For a truly complete and effective shoulder workout, it is essential to include specific exercises for each part of the deltoid. Movements like lateral raises and reverse flies on cable or machine can be extremely effective for targeting the lateral and posterior deltoids. Reason number 6. Low training volume for shoulders. Many practitioners, due to poorly structured routines or simply by underestimating the importance of this muscle group, end up training shoulders only once a week, usually combined with other muscles, and limit themselves to performing only 2 or 3 exercises per session. This volume is definitely insufficient for those looking to maximize shoulder hypertrophy. Shoulders are a complex part of the body, involving multiple muscles such as the anterior, medial, and posterior deltoids, each requiring specific stimuli for full development. Contrary to what many believe, shoulders are not as small as they seem, as they play a crucial role both in functional daily movements and in a variety of bodybuilding exercises, demanding adequate attention in any training program focused on hypertrophy. To properly stimulate shoulder growth, it is important not only to increase the load, as previously mentioned, but also to ensure sufficient training volume and frequency. This means performing multiple exercises that target all parts of the deltoids throughout the week. Ideally, shoulders should be trained at least twice a week with variations in exercises to ensure that all deltoid heads receive sufficient stimulus. Moreover, instead of incorporating shoulder training only on days of training other large muscle groups, dedicating a specific day to them can be extremely beneficial. This allows focusing on technique, applying the necessary intensity, and most importantly, avoiding the fatigue which we mentioned can occur when shoulders are trained after larger muscles, such as chest or back. Reason number 7, not consuming enough calories. For those looking to gain muscle mass, regardless of the target muscle, it is essential to be in a caloric surplus, meaning consuming more calories than you expend. Being in a caloric deficit, which is consuming fewer calories than needed to maintain weight, significantly hinders muscle growth. For muscles to grow, including the shoulders, they need not only appropriate physical stimulus through training, but also a sufficient amount of calories to support recovery and muscle growth. Without adequate caloric intake, the body simply does not have the necessary resources to synthesize new muscle tissue. This is like trying to build a house without having enough bricks. No matter how good the plan or the effort put into building, without enough material, progress will be limited. That's why weighing your food and having a well-established diet is crucial. By controlling and measuring what you eat, you can ensure that you are in a caloric surplus and providing your body with the nutrients needed for growth. Keeping a food diary or using a calorie counting app can help monitor daily intake and make adjustments as needed. In addition to just eating more, it is important to focus on the quality of the diet, ensuring that you are consuming enough protein for muscle reconstruction, carbohydrates for energy, and healthy fats for vital functions. Each macronutrient plays a role, and an appropriate balance among them can optimize both muscle growth and overall health. Reason number 8, not consuming enough protein. Continuing the theme of proper nutrition for muscle growth, another crucial aspect is the sufficient intake of protein. Protein is the building block of muscles. Without an adequate amount, muscle development will inevitably be limited. Proteins are essential because they are made up of amino acids, which the body uses to repair and build new muscle tissues after training. For those seeking hypertrophy, it is recommended to consume about 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily. This amount helps ensure that the body has the necessary resources to effectively recover and grow after exercise. Remember that on average, 100 grams of lean beef contain about 26 grams of protein, 100 grams of cooked chicken breast offer about 31 grams, each large egg provides about 6 grams, and a cup of milk contains approximately 8 grams of protein. Integrating these or other protein sources into your daily diet is essential to ensure that you not only reach your daily protein goal, but also support your body for maximum recovery and muscle growth. Do not forget to combine this protein intake with a moderate caloric surplus, as previously mentioned, to optimize hypertrophy results. Finally, a very important warning. Unfortunately, even if you correct all these mistakes, it will still be difficult to develop respectable shoulders if your testosterone levels are below average. The bad news is that some daily habits that have become quite popular in today's society are silently destroying your levels of this very important hormone. If you want to know what these common habits are that silently destroy your testosterone and make you a weak and muscle-less man, we have a video appearing right now on the screen explaining all of them and how they end up affecting you. Thank you for watching this far, and God bless you, my friend.